Ian Wilson heard me playing in '94 or '3 or something in the concert hall in Dublin, and I think that was my first introduction to him. And he immediately said, I think I approached him actually. Yeah, I did approach him to write a piece for me, and we got funding from the Arts Council. And that was it, that was the start of it, and that was a piece called From the Book of Longing, which I've played a lot since then. And also recorded it with Utini, and so, and I've had this relationship with him ever since, with Ian, on and off, you know. We obviously don't see each other all the time, but he has, he woke me up to what was out there, you know, and also I love the fact that he was also sending me discs of other music, other people, other composers, contemporary composers, and sometimes very radical stuff that I just couldn't get at the time. But so I was pretty much focused for a long time and on all the standard things, and I still am. I still have, you know, I'm mostly focusing on chamber music now, and concertos too, but chamber music is my first love.
In terms of building an interpretation, Catherine, do you literally go phrase by phrase, page by page, note by note?
Initially, what I like to do usually is read through the score, and perhaps with Nono I'll listen again, and to Kramer, of course, one of my favourites, and then so get an overview of it. Again, I don't like to rely on listening to a recording, but you know, you have to with some pieces. Like the Schoenberg trio that I'm starting to work on, I mean, I hate writing usually fingerings and bowings and things in, but I have to write in lightly anyway. Maybe I can eventually rub them out, but because I don't like that stuff all over my music. But yeah, I'm literally having to put a number on top of every note at the moment, just to learn the notes. So it's completely anti the music at the moment. That's the stage that the Schoenberg is in, for instance. So so it just depends on the difficulty of the piece too.
Just to go back, Catherine, to an area we touched off earlier on, your formative years as a young musician and a young violinist, younger violinist. Things weren't as advanced when you started out then as they are now. It's certainly much more advanced now for players. But paradoxically, did that actually make you a better player?
Well, I suppose maybe you mean that at the time I wasn't too bogged down with the technical aspects of the composition I was playing, or the compositional aspects and so on. I mean, it was, maybe you mean it was just, there was a freedom to just do it and play it beautifully, and hopefully, and not worry too much, and with the, you know, and be constrained by too much knowledge perhaps. But as I got older, of course, I mean, it is important to have more background, and that enriches your playing. But I like to think of what Messiaen said, and I'm absolutely a devotee of Messiaen. I adore him. I wish he had written more for the violin, but at the end of his notes for the Quartet for the End of Time, you know, and they're very explicit notes. I mean, he goes into very in-depth explanations as to how to play it, and for each instrument, and you know, and the compositional techniques used, and it's so mathematically constructed, and you can get a bit bogged down with that. And I read the books and the you know, when I was learning that piece at first, I mean, I was a little bit in awe of that piece for quite a while, actually. I still am. But at the end of that, he writes, and I paraphrase, he just says, after all of that, after everything I've said, forget about it, basically. Forget about it and just play the piece and make music and bring that across to the audience.
Have you any ideas, and I know you, with the chamber ensemble in the States, you are actively, you've just told me, integrating,
yes,
you know, Schoenberg, Crumb, whomever, to Mozart and Schubert and whoever else is on the programme on that particular concert. But have you any ideas how we can make it less terrifying for audiences?
Yeah. Well, I personally, I see my job in a way to sort of connect the past and the present and the future, and bring that across to the audience in a sort of a compelling way. And what I don't like to see happening is, I mean, I know there are specialists who play only contemporary music, and that's great, but I don't like to isolate it too much from the rest of the repertoire, and once you have an audience there and they're coming, I mean, I know that the National Symphony Orchestra and lots of groups do that. They'll have the war horses of the repertoire, and then they'll slot in, you know, a contemporary piece. It doesn't always work, you know, and it has to be presented as well in a certain way. But with chamber music, the great thing is that intimacy that one has, you know, at one's disposal. So a smaller audience, therefore more chance to interact, to talk with them. So when I program a recital, or when I have a program with my group in America, we, you know, the second half might be a Mozart piano quartet, and the first half a piece of Wilson and a piece of George Crumb, and people get very animated about. That's the great thing about the audiences there, is that because we have a very regular audience, and newcomers all the time, hopefully as well. But in the break or at the end of the concert, they'll be having animated discussions amongst themselves as to whether or not they liked this Crumb and what they thought of this, and we'll talk with them too. And I think it's so important to be part of this whole living creative process, and that it keeps going, and the performer is as responsible for that as the composer, and it's as important to how we present it and how we present it to the audience.